This is the continuation of my last video reading the June 2023 Car and Driver, the 2024 Mazda CX-90 by Rich Seppos. Going for the gold. The CX-90 is ready to compete for its place among premium SUVs. Like an aspiring Olympian, Mazda has been training relentlessly in recent years, working toward transcending its mainstream roots and competing at a higher level against premium automotive brands. The company has been making good on that mission of late, with cars and SUVs that are more refined and better appointed, still retaining the engaging driving dynamics Mazdas have long been known for. The all-new CX-90 midsize SUV is the culmination of the training regimen and will serve as the company's flagship. After spending a day with it on rainstorm-battered Northern California roads, we're inclined to say that this athlete of an SUV has the skill set to compete in the premium class games, and maybe even to medal. Mazda could not have reached this level by simply modifying any of its existing products. The CX-90 uses a fresh from the ground up longitudinal engine architecture. It gets its motivation from two fresh powertrains, one a plug-in hybrid that feature an 8-speed automatic transmission and a standard all-wheel drive system, both new. This architecture enables handsome rear-wheel drive proportions with a long dash-to-axle ratio and a cabin set further rearward. It's a look that dresses any number of upscale brands' vehicles. The new engines, a turbocharged 3.3-liter inline-six with a 48-volt hybrid system and a naturally aspirated 2.5-liter four-cylinder for the plug-in hybrid model, are positioned north-south under the long hood, and the CX-90 rolls on a control-arm front and multi-link rear suspension. The newcomer stretches 1.4 inches longer than the front-drive base CX-9 that it will replace at the end of the 2023 model year, but rides on a wheelbase that's 7.5 inches greater. There are three CX-90 models: the Turbo, which rolls with a 280 horsepower version of the Turbo 6, the top-spec Turbo S, powered by the same engine in a 340 horsepower tune, and the PHEV with a 189 horsepower gas engine and a 173 horsepower electric motor, making a combined 323 horsepower. The PHEV's battery, which we estimate at 14.8 kilowatt hours, resides under the floor just above the rear axle and should deliver 26 miles of electric range. The CX-90's possible model combinations run longer than the menu choices in a New Jersey diner. Anyone considering a CX-90 can mix and match selections from 3 powertrains, 5 trim levels, and 6, 7, or 8 passenger configurations. Seating options include second-row captain's chairs or a 3-place bench, depending on the model. A third-row 3-passenger bench is standard, 2-passenger in the Turbo S Premium Plus. The first 2 rows are plenty roomy, but the third has too little legroom for adults. We sampled a Turbo S, no Porsche relation, in top-spec Premium Plus trim on the interstates and 2 lanes between San Francisco and Sonoma. Torrential rains nearly flooded the roads, but the CX-90 didn't seem to notice. The suspension eschews the air springs and adaptive dampers seen on many upscale SUVs, but it nonetheless felt planted and assured on rain-soaked switchbacks and also rode well on the open road. The Turbo 6 pulled solidly from low revs, free from boost lag, helped by an initial push from the 48-volt hybrid assist system. It sounds rich doing it too. The new 8-speed automatic shifts gears smoothly in normal driving, but suffers from lazy downshifts when you use the paddles mounted on the steering wheel. The PHEV Premium Plus we drove on the return leg behaved with similar over-the-road poise and felt almost as lively as the Turbo S, though its 4-cylinder gas engine is a little more vocal. We racked up 18 miles of all-electric driving on the way home, despite leaving the parking lot with less than a full charge. The CX-90 is as nice to be in as it is to drive. The Turbo S's interior is awash in luxurious materials with soft Napa leather on the seats, blonde Japanese maple trim on the center console and the doors, and handsome fabric sewn into the dash. It has every luxury extra you could ask for, from second-row heated and ventilated captain's chairs to a rocking Bose audio system and a big 12.3-inch infotainment and instrument cluster screens. The plug-in hybrid's cabin, dressed in black leather and metal trim, is almost as rich, with base prices starting at $40,970 for the Turbo, $48,820 for the PHEV, and $53,125 for the Turbo S. The CX-90 is a solid value. We like its chances against the established premium players. Let the games begin. Checker 6. Mazda had multiple reasons for developing a turbocharged 3.3-liter inline-six for its new SUV. The company's desire to compete with premium SUV brands led to the creation of a longitudinal engine, rear drive architecture. Then Mazda chose an inline design over a V6. Besides its inherent advantages in smoothness, the inline engine enabled engineers to optimize the chassis for more engaging driving dynamics. The greater width of a V6 would have required a compact strut suspension, which has less advantageous geometry for spirited driving. The inline 6 allows for a more sophisticated control arm front suspension. The new engine comes in two strengths, both aided by a 48-volt, 17 horsepower hybrid assist system. The base 6 and turbo model develops 280 horsepower and 332 pound-feet of torque on regular fuel. The high-output version, reserved for the Turbo S, is mechanically identical but tuned to take advantage of premium fuel. It runs about 5 pounds more boost and puts out 340 horsepower and 369 pound-feet of torque, which is more than enough to move the CX-90 swiftly along. The 2023 BMW M340i xDrive by Estero. Working the core. The highs, mighty quick, plenty of fun on the right roads, impressive highway fuel economy. Lows, not our favorite steering, stiff ride, where'd all the buttons go? We've long regarded the 3 Series as the core of the BMW brand, although it hasn't been the US sales leader since 2018. Still, it's gratifying to see BMW making a strong effort to keep it up to date, even if we don't love all the 2023 changes. Outside, BMW tweaked the headlights, lower fascia and tailpipes, and on the M340i, added a subtle rear spoiler. Mercifully, the 3 Series avoids the oversized grille nostrils. Inside, BMW's curved display arrives, comprising of a 12.3-inch instrument cluster screen and a 14.9-inch touchscreen. Gone are the 13 climate control buttons, as are the radio controls and radio presets. Just 2 audio and 2 defroster buttons remain, along with a volume knob. Turning on the seat heater requires navigating to the right submenu or giving a voice command, both more cumbersome than pressing a button. And we'd gladly trade the ambient lighting for a traditional gauge cluster that doesn't glare at night. A less satisfying toggle has replaced the gear lever and brings no storage benefit. At least there are paddles for manual shifting of the excellent 8-speed automatic. The 48-volt hybrid system currently spreading throughout BMW's lineup enhances that transmission. A starter generator connected to the engine's crankshaft and residing in the transmission housing provides as much as 147 pound-feet of torque and 11 horsepower to supplement the engine. A small battery under the trunk floor stores electrons. The electrified transmission shifts seamlessly and seems to summon the perfect gear for every driving condition. It's coupled to BMW's superb turbocharged 3-liter inline 6. Despite the new hybrid components, the total output of 382 horsepower and 369 pound-feet of torque is unchanged. The performance of our all-wheel drive test car is similar to a previous rear-drive M340i we tested. The xDrive model launches harder and hits 60 miles an hour in 3.7 seconds. 0.1 second quicker, and it covers the quarter mile in 12.2 seconds at 112 miles an hour, quicker than Cadillac's CT4V Blackwing. The M340i is effortlessly muscular in normal driving. Turbo lag is almost non-existent, unless you floor the throttle from a dead stop. Still, there's enough motion force to mask this in most driving. And the M340i returned an excellent 33 miles per gallon in our 75 mile an hour highway fuel economy test. Unfortunately, the M340i's chassis doesn't quite measure up to the powertrain, despite 0.95 G of cornering grip and a 157-foot stopping distance from 70 miles an hour. The steering has a poor sense of on-center and an inconsistent effort during cornering, perhaps because of the standard variable ratio steering rack. Brake feel isn't much better, with the acceleration more proportional to pedal travel than pedal effort. That said, the M340i covers ground rapidly on winding roads. The steering might not feel great, but is accurate. The brakes are powerful and fade-free, and body control is good. Of course, a sports sedan should also be adept at everyday tasks. In that role, the M340i incurs a few penalties. Even in comfort mode, the suspension is stiff and jiggly, and sport is too harsh for regular use. Otherwise, the 3 Series is comfortable, with great seats and interior space sufficient for 4 adults and their bags. It's hard to argue with the M340i's objective performance. The 2023 version is a bit too eager to embrace the latest fads, but we're glad BMW has not followed the trend of abandoning cars like this one. The 2023 Genesis Electrified GV70 by Eric Stafford. Electrify and chill. At Genesis, electrification is starting to mean athleticism. Take the electrified GV70 for instance. From a driver's perspective, the battery-powered GV70 is as capable as its internal combustion counterparts, and it's even capable of giving us the giggle. In the chain from an engine to a 2-motor electric powertrain, this GV70 gains a floor-mounted battery pack that lowers the center of gravity, adding a measure of button-down security to an already sporty chassis. The brake pedal isn't always reassuring though, a byproduct of poor tuning on the blended friction and regenerative braking system, and torque steer tugs at the wheel during hard launches. To bring out the fun, drive with boost mode activated. It bumps horsepower from 429 to 483 horsepower for up to 10 seconds. But also plan on recharging before testing the Genesis 236-mile EPA estimated range. That figure falls short of the Tesla Model Y's 330-mile range, barely beats the Lexus RZ and tops the GV60 performance by a single mile. Hooking up to a DC fast charger restores roughly 60 miles in 5 minutes, or takes the battery from 10 to 80% in 18 minutes, a feat we verified with the similar GV60. Compared with its gasoline kin, the electrified GV7 has a stiffer structure and additional sound deadening, both of which improve what was already a serene cabin environment, though the A-pillars generate some wind rush at highway speeds. While the interiors are practically identical, you can distinguish the new electric version from the gas-powered GV70 by its closed-off grille, which hides the charge port. Because the electrified GV70 is an SUV that starts under $80,000, its base price is $67,550, and Genesis assembles it here in the States. It qualifies for a $7,500 tax credit. The federal kickback is another reason to choose the electrified GV70 over the GV60 performance. That said, the electrified GV70 isn't a great value relative to the sub $45,000 GV70 with its 300 horsepower Turbo 4. A 375 horsepower twin-turbo V6 version opens at around $56,000. The 10 best winning GV70 is a staff favorite, but the electrified version would need more than sub 4-second darts to 60 miles an hour to earn one of our highest honors. The 2023 Lexus RZ 450e Premium by Joe Lorio. The highs: plush ride, hush cruising, cushy accommodations. The lows: severely limited range, subscription-based features, silly yoke steering. Lexus has long been a leader in hybrid powertrains, but its first US EV, the RZ 450e, suggests it's an unenthusiastic concept in the march to full battery propulsion. Borrowing from the eTNGA architecture of the Toyota BZ4X, the RZ has the same wheelbase but is about 5 inches longer. Two motors, one at each axle, drive all four wheels. A single motor version may join later. A more muscular front motor than Toyota pushes total output to 308 horsepower and 320 pound-feet. The RZ lifts its modest 63.4 kilowatt-hour battery from the single motor BZ4X. An EPA range is just 196 miles with 20-inch wheels and 220 miles on 18s. That's in normal driving mode. Eco and range modes, the latter disables the HVAC system, can ring out a few more miles. Our 75-mile-an-hour highway range test yielded a particularly short result, just 120 miles. Owners who need more, such as for a road trip, get 30 days of free Lexus rental cars over 3 years. Also borrowed from the BZ4X is a 6.6 kilowatt onboard charger. Rivals have quicker 9 to 11 kilowatt units. Recharging from 0 to 100% with a level 2 source should take 9.5 hours. While Lexus claims a max charging rate of 150 kilowatts, in our testing, a DC fast charger at an ambient temperature of 37 degrees, the average rate was just 36 kilowatts during the 86 minutes the battery needed to go from 10 to 90%. The RZ may not be a great EV, but it's a fine Lexus. The comfortable, welcoming interior has minimal adornment, a roomy rear seat, and typically precise build quality. The upholstery is new luxe faux leather or rich-looking ultra suede. Available radiant heating elements in the lower dash warm front seat occupants' legs. A dual-pane panoramic sunroof is standard, while the luxury trim's optional version gets an electronically dimmed glass. A 14-inch touchscreen incorporates most controls, but at least there are knobs for temperature and audio volume. Phone mirroring is wireless. Hey Lexus, voice recognition and smartphone as key functionality are subscription-based. The driving experience seemed catered to brand loyalists. With a 60-mile-an-hour time of 4.6 seconds, the RZ isn't muscle car quick, but it steps lively when pulling away from a stop, passing on 2 lanes and merging onto the freeway. Despite having brake-based torque vectoring, this car won't sell on its handling prowess. The RZ held onto the skid pad with just 0.83 Gs of grip, a dismal result given its summer tires. A smooth ride is its forte, and the suspension adeptly soaks up pavement imperfections. With no spacey EV powertrain noise, unless you're in sport mode, the RZ's quietness is similarly on-brand. Steering wheel paddles select a degree of regen, although the RZ doesn't offer one-pedal driving. The blended brakes are commendably linear, and the standard steering is quite light. The RZ 450e gets Lexus into the EV field with its brand values intact, but the company isn't leading the charge as it did with hybrids. Instead, Lexus is more like a foot soldier in the battery-powered army. Okay, going after yoke. Sometime after launch, the RZ will offer an optional steering yoke. Its steer-by-wire system is a completely electronic connection to the front wheels. In driving, the yoke feels normal around straight ahead, but gets weirder the further you move from center. The yoke turns past 90 degrees in each direction, and the last bit before lock brings a startling amount of response. It's easy to dial in too much steering for a 90-degree corner, especially when pulling away from a stop. The system eliminates wheel winding during parking and affords a slightly better view of the instrument screen, but the major benefits seem to be its video game aesthetic. The 2023 Mercedes-Benz EQE SUV by Joe Lorio. The latest Mercedes-Benz EQ model, the EQE SUV, strives to blend in. Should EVs make a statement? With its EQS and EQE sedans, Mercedes-Benz sure pushed the envelope. The EQE SUV, though, doesn't court controversy. The single-motor EQE 350 Plus and dual-motor EQE 350 and EQE 500 4MATICs mirror the sedan's lineup. Both EQE 350s have 288 horsepower, less than most rivals. Torque outputs are more competitive, 417 and 564 pound-feet, rear drive and 4MATIC. The EQE 500 has 402 horses and 663 pound-feet. The EQE 350 Plus is perky in town but rather languid at highway speeds. The EQE 350's 4MATIC's extra torque wakes up response when passing on 2 lanes or merging onto the freeway. The EQE 500 can blur the scenery like a high-performance EV, but it still likely lacks the spiriting ability of the top Genesis GV60, which does 60 miles an hour in 3.7 seconds, or the base BMW iX, which does it in 4 seconds at 60. There are 4 soundscapes, oddball soundtracks resampled, then silenced, leaving just a faint whir from the powertrain. The car is quiet at highway speeds, with only some tire noise. The standard suspension coped reasonably well with the beat-up city streets, but had some head toss over pavement disturbances at higher speeds. The optional air springs and adaptive dampeners keep a tighter rein on body motions. The steering effort is agreeable, but doesn't build as cornering forces increase, so the helm ends up feeling inert. Available rear axle steering, which is standard on the EQE 500, turns the rear wheels by up to 10 degrees, greatly aiding maneuverability. Normal brake energy recuperation mode approximates an internal combustion car, while selecting no recuperation enables coasting. In intelligent mode, the degree to which the car slows varies based on the traffic ahead and info from the nav system. If the vehicle head stops, intelligent mode can stop the EQE, but one-pedal fans may prefer strong recuperation, which slows the car aggressively, although not to a full stop. As in other EQ models, the brake pedal's initial response is wooden, then becomes grabby as the driver applies more pressure. The EQE SUV brings 2 innovations: front motor disconnect for all-wheel drive models, and a heat pump to improve the HVAC system's efficiency. The battery pack stores 90.6 kilowatt hours, and Mercedes claims range is 279 miles in the EQE 350 Plus, 253 miles for the EQE 350 4MATIC, and 269 miles in the EQE 500 4MATIC. Recharging from 10 to 80% takes the claim 32 minutes at speeds up to 170 kilowatts. A level 2 source takes the battery from 10 to 100% as quickly as 9.5 hours. Inside, the tallish console meets the dashboard, providing a less spacious feeling layout than EVs with open space ahead on the console. The SUV snipped 3.5 inches from the sedan's wheelbase, yet rear seat room is generous, and a flat floor makes the middle position tenable. The EQE's rounded form cuts into cargo space, though with 14 cubic feet behind the rear seat versus the GLE's 33 cubes. The dash-spanning hyperscreen arrives next year. For now, all models get a digital instrument cluster and a separate touchscreen. Assessing functions is easy, but we bemoan the lack of physical switchgear. The touch slider for volume and the tiny 4-way touchpads on the steering wheel earn special enmity. Ritzy detailing makes the EQE SUV cabin pleasant to look at, but it's not easy to see out of. With a shallow windshield and stocky A-pillars that stretch forward stretch forward into the field of view. Pricing starts at $79,050 for either the EQE 350 and $90,650 for the EQE 500, which reaches $96,350 in pinnacle trim. Rich pricing probably won't trouble Mercedes buyers, unlike weird styling. The 2024 Subaru Impreza by Austin Irwin. Nobody brings Cliff Bars to a potluck. While they're not a culinary achievement, energy bars have enough nutrients to tide you over. They call to mind the new Subaru Impreza. It's not as tasty as the Honda Civic or Mazda 3, but Subaru's smallest all-wheel drive car packs the essentials into a handy size at an affordable price. The 6th Gen Impreza's ziciest updates are its more powerful engine option, larger touchscreen at 11.6 inches on the upper trims, and increased standard features. Some things, though, have been lost. Subaru dropped the 4-door sedan and manual transmission in favor of what 73% of Impreza customers prefer: hatchbacks with CVTs. A sturdier structure and additional sound deadening make the Impreza heavier but easier on the ears. Even at highway speed, the Subaru is pleasingly quiet. There's a new electric power steering rack similar to what's used in the WRX, and steering effort is reduced. The Impreza also switched to an electric brake booster, resulting in less pedal effort. To improve handling, brake-based torque vectoring is standard across the lineup. The base Impreza and the Sport retain the same old 152 horsepower 2-liter flat 4. The RS trim, back after a long sabbatical, gives the Impreza a desperately needed boost with its 182 horsepower 2.5-liter flat 4. An updated CVT tries its best to mimic an 8-speed automatic. Darker wheels and trim identify the RS as the cool one. Sport and RS models offer a new exclusive color, Oasis Blue Pearl, reminiscent of the limited edition 2016 WRX STI. Despite a 30 horsepower and 33 pound-foot advantage over the 2-liter, the 2.5-liter barely challenges the updated chassis. Toss the RS into a hairpin hard enough to make the all-season Yokohama Avid S34P tires cry out, and the delightful chassis carries speed without a hiccup, but flattening the gas pedal on corner exit brings little urgency. Still, it's a much-needed upgrade over the base engine, which took 9 seconds to reach 60 miles an hour in our last test. Like chocolate chips added to an energy bar, the 2.5's increase in horsepower is likely to wow only the Impreza faithful. The 2023 Toyota Prius Prime by Andrew Crook. Newfound horsepower and range make the plug-in Prius Prime relevant again. Hybrids remain a key part of Toyota's portfolio for some time. Fortunately, the brand's latest examples have been profoundly good. The new Prius certainly is, so it should come as no surprise that the plug-in Prius Prime is a fabulous little hatch too. The Prius Prime has been around since 2017, and recently it's been feeling its age. While the PHEV's fuel economy benefits are substantial, it was hard to ignore the outgoing models time it with a sundial acceleration, middling electric-only range, and frustrating interior controls. With the 2023 version, Toyota sends all those annoyances to the bad place and gives the Prius Prime a massive mechanical and aesthetic glow-up. The Prius and the Prius Prime are nearly indistinguishable, which is great because the Prius looks better than it ever has. But it's the Prime's upgraded mechanicals that are truly transformative. The Atkinson cycle 4-cylinder grows from 1.8 to 2 liters, boosting output from a sad 95 horsepower and 105 pound-feet of torque to a more respectable 150 horses and 139 pound-feet. The engine works in conjunction with the 161 horsepower permanent magnet AC electric motor driving the front wheels. A second motor generator is integrated into the Prime's planetary gear set for a net output of 220 horses, a big leap over the previous 121 horsepower combined rating. Toyota says the Prime will reach 60 in 6.6 seconds, a huge improvement over the glacial 10.3 seconds we managed with the 2022 model. Toyota also upped the lithium-ion battery's capacity, now at an estimated 10.9 kilowatt hours, giving the car an EPA estimated 44 miles of electric range for the base SE and 39 miles on higher trims, nearly doubling the old model's figure. The Prime earns EPA combined estimates of 52 miles per gallon for the SE and 48 miles per gallon for the XSE and the XSE Premium. On the roads around Carlsbad, California, we immediately appreciated the Prime's perkier powertrain. Even in eco mode, where the throttle takes an Ambien, the plug-in Prius no longer feels like a slow-moving danger to others. It's perfectly capable of getting up to speed on e-propulsion alone, and when the engine kicks in, it does so smoothly and without a lot of annoying drone. The Prius Prime is a little more playful now too, thanks to the stiffer TNGA-C platform. But the suspension tuning remains on the softer side, soaking up road inconsistencies without sending much jostling into the cabin. Save for a little bit of wind whistling around the A-pillars, it's pretty quiet inside as well. The Prime's shape affords good visibility, but the cabin suffers from some ergonomic issues. A 6-foot driver may feel their hair rustle against the headliner, and the lack of headroom is even more dire in the back seat. The center console is tall, but there's surprisingly little storage space under the armrest. The dashboard protrudes into the passenger space, making it easy to smack a knee against it. The Prime shares some vehicle controls and instrumentation with the BZ4X, which means the small steering wheel sits at a lower position while the cluster resides above it, closer to where a head-up display typically would be. The setup takes some getting used to. The old infotainment system with its tall portrait display and frustratingly button-free experience is thankfully in the trash. In its place is a more traditional 8-inch touchscreen, 12.3 inches on higher trims. It also runs the latest iteration of the Toyota Audio Multimedia Infotainment System, which is a vast improvement over its forebear in everything from aesthetics to response time. Wireless smartphone mirroring is standard, as are 6 USB-C ports. Safety systems abound on the Prius Prime. They include proactive driving assist, which provides steering and brake inputs to help the car maintain an appropriate distance from the vehicle ahead. Traffic jam assist allows the Prime to operate without driver input at speeds under 25 miles an hour. There's also an attention monitor that is entirely too heavy-handed, beeping at us when we dared to look left or right before entering an intersection. Whereas the last gen snuck in at under $30,000 mark, the 2023 base model will set you back $33,445. The Sweet Spot XSE asks $36,695, while the bells and whistle XSE Premium is $40,265. Given how much improvement Toyota shoehorned into the 2023 Prius, those are numbers we can live with. The 2023 Mitsubishi Outlander PHEV by Jalorio. The highs, much quicker than the non-hybrid, 24 miles of EV range, eye-popping interior. The lows, powertrain noise, some dynamic rough edges, pointless third-row seats. Like a shapeshifter, Mitsubishi has been many things. First known to Americans as the maker of gas-stingy little Dodges and Plymouths, Mitsubishi has also produced its own econoboxes, sporty coupes, high-strung sport compacts, and off-road ready SUVs. Repeatedly, though, changing markets or a wave of competitors washed out the ground beneath Mitsu's feet. The brand's latest niche is the plug-in hybrid compact crossover. Its Outlander PHEV, sold here since 2018, enters its second generation for 2023, but the floodwaters of competition are already rising. A corporate tie-up with the Nissan means the latest Outlander is based on the Nissan Rogue, but the two look nothing alike. Under the hood is Mitsubishi's engine, a 131 horsepower Atkinson cycle 2.4-liter inline-4, aided by 3 electric motors, one of which drives the rear wheels. The powertrain makes a combined 248 horsepower versus the base engine's 181, and 332 pound-feet of torque. Even though the PHEV weighs 4,751 pounds, 887 more than a regular Outlander, it's still 1.6 seconds quicker to 60 miles an hour, reaching the mark in 6.6 seconds. With that time, it can't match the 302 horsepower Toyota RAV4 Prime, but beats the Ford Escape and Kia Sportage PHEVs. And in EV mode, the electric motors have enough thrust to move you around town. The new, larger battery pack, an estimated 16.8 kilowatt, can be replenished by the engine or by plugging in. A DC fast charger took the depleted battery to 94% in 61 minutes. The EPA estimates 38 miles of EV range. In our 75 mile an hour highway test, we went 24 miles before the engine fired up. Other modes can add to or preserve the battery's state of charge, or just let the system decide the mode of mix. The standard digital instrument cluster keeps tabs on the hybrid system's noise and machinations, although the readout isn't easy to follow. Paddles adjust brake regeneration, and a console button brings nearly one pedal driving. Using the actual brake pedal is not so satisfying, with lots of dead travel. Still, our 171-foot stop from 70 was acceptably short. Mid-corner bumps can set the body into a corkscrew motion, and hitting one usually results in shock reverberating through the cabin. That cabin, which is similar to a top-spec Rogue's, is roomy except for the third row, which is strictly theoretical. Our example came with the ritzy SEL Premium package, semi-aniline leather, panoramic sunroof, massaging front seats, and more for $2,700. Despite the fancy cabin, the $50,880 as-tested price gives us the sweats. The similarly priced RAV4 Prime drives better, while the Escape and the Sportage cost less. For compact SUV buyers, the Outlander PHEV offers a way to ease into electrification, but for Mitsubishi, an influx of competitors means it may not be much of a safe haven for long. What to buy? The 2004 to 2007 Cadillac CTS-V. Launched on the heels of the CTS sedan in 2003, the 2004 Cadillac CTS-V was General Motors' blunt force response to the BMW M5s and Audi S4s of the world. Our first impressions were largely positive. A pre-production model exhibited both power and poise, remaining a Cadillac on the road even with the Corvette engine under the hood. As we said in that March 2004 test, the CTS-V showed that GM's being bad is really quite good. With a switch to the LS2 6-liter V8, a stronger rear differential, and additional features such as a standard sunroof, the 2006 and 7 models are largely a more attractive prospect than the earlier Vs. Problem areas. Look for issues with the differential in all first-gen CTS-V models, but especially the 04 and 05s, which are more prone to disaster under the strain of that vet engine. Both LS V8s can be thirsty for oil, but the LS6 had a valley cover prone to leaks. GM issued various recalls for the first-gen CTS-V and even offered to install the later differential in earlier cars at the owner's expense. It's worth taking any CTS-V you're looking at to a GM dealer for a thorough inspection. There's a strong aftermarket for the first-gen CTS-V, with a large community of owners active on forums offering solutions for known issues. Engine. The 2004 and 5 CTSV used the LS6 5.7-liter V8 from the C5 Corvette Z06, producing 400 horsepower and 395 pound-feet of torque. A Tremec 6-speed manual transmission turned the rear wheels. We couldn't replicate GM's claimed 60-mile-an-hour sprints with the pre-production CTSV we tested, thanks to some wheel hop we experienced getting off the line. Cadillac improved this issue, but did not eliminate it. By the time we put the 2005 CTSV in a test with the Mercedes-Benz C55 AMG and Audi S4, where it logged a 4.8 second time. The 2006 CTSV saw a major change with the switch to an LS2 6-liter V8. Power remained the same, but peak torque arrived at 4,400 RPM instead of 4,800. The CTSV took a brief hiatus after the 2007 model year. The follow-up debuted as a 2009 model and eventually included the CTSV Sport Wagon, to the delight of car nerds everywhere. Value. The first-gen CTSV was a bit of a sleeper and a steal next to the German competition of its time, and its pricing remains great by comparison today. The catch is, with just 8,802 built, there aren't that many to choose from. Recent sales suggest you're going to land in the 20,000s. That's not necessarily cheap, but it's far from the 40 to 80 grand, and sometimes above, many second-gen CTSVs are garnering these days.